You just gotta go, Chase. Chase, Peace Dragon. Let's go. Head in.
Here we go! Hands up. Breathe. Micah, get lower, dude. Get your whole shoulder in.
That's nice, Micah. That's nice.
Breathe, dude. It's all about the breathing. Just focus on your breathing, dude.
Welcome again to the...
They are struggling to breathe.
Look at Micah's.
Oh my god.
You're just bagging on their foot where they're about to do. Micah's gripping. Why his dog's gripping his sandals?
All right.
Welcome back to the Higher Brothers Podcast. We can't do that.
We can't do that. We can maybe spell Higher Brothers, but with a Y, H-Y.
Is that's their name?
Higher brother.
Today we're gonna. I had an experience over the weekend. I did my first polar plunge. I had done ice baths before at BYU after like rugby practice, but it wasn't as long, and it wasn't. I swear it wasn't.
Wait,
as
how
cold.
long did you do ice baths
at BYU?
Yeah,
probably like 2 minutes tops.
Really?
2 minutes tops.
See, I did long at BYU. I was in there for 15 minutes.
That's unhealthy.
Yeah, I know that now. But
Holy
at the
crap.
time, that's what they said. 15 minutes. So
But it was just like your legs, right, or your whole
I
body.
would go up to my
Oh my
chest.
gosh,
Dude, it felt so good.
Really?
After the first 3 minutes, you're numb. You can sit in there all you want, so you get frostbite.
So this was my experience over the weekend. I've been trying to like work out, get in shape, and one of the things that we decided to do was the polar plunge, 33 degrees for 5 minutes. That was the goal, 33 degrees for 5 minutes. So on Friday we work out and we're jumping in the tub, and I was up first, and we fit 2 people in at a time. So it was me and Corey Higgins. I jump in the tub, and I've never had a panic attack before, but if someone were to ask me what does a panic attack feel like, that experience would be what I would use to describe a panic attack. Like
Hyperventilating.
dude, I was hyperventilating, couldn't breathe, and then like I feel like automatically I had flight. My body just went in flight mode. Get out. And just mentally, I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't expecting it. And so I think I lasted like 12 to 15 seconds. And I was just like, I was swearing quite a bit. And my car was turned on. Heat was going. So I literally hopped out and just booked it to the car and took off. Just left. After 15 seconds. And they were like, dude, come back. You have to get back in. I was like, I'm out. And that made me feel like the biggest
Pussy.
B word ever. I was just like, I texted him. I was like, guys, I'm so sad about myself. And then the whole day I was just like, I came home and Kaylee's like, what's wrong? I was like, I just like quit. I straight up just quit over something that I wanted to do. And so this was Saturday, the next day. And I was like, I told myself, one of 2 things will happen. I will make it to 5 minutes, or I will die in the water. Because that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm going to die. So either I die or I make it 5 minutes. I'm obviously not going to die for being there for 5 minutes.
You might.
I don't know. So I said, I'm either going to die or make it 5 minutes. So I just, this was me and our brother Micah.
Roll the clip.
Micah was ready.
Yeah, Micah was hyped. Micah was nervous, though.
He was.
For sure.
Oh, head first.
I
don't get the squeeze. I don't get the hands up thing.
No, he's saying breathe.
Oh, breathe. Hands up, don't shoot. You guys look like you're chilling.
Yeah, I was.
Chase is determined.
My
That's
insides
a face of determination
were
right
screaming.
Also, did someone tell you to keep your hands up?
Yeah.
Some of the most excruciating pain comes from your fingers and toes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe
But it
that's
feels
why.
good when it's in there.
The toes were killing for sure.
The dogs.
Especially when you put them on the bottom on the metal.
Especially when yours and Micah's
What
are.
about your balls?
So Micah's hands, you probably won't see it in this video, but
Is he just squeezing so hard?
yeah, dude. And I think that's it. Micah got to a point where his hands, he like slowly pulled it to a Tama Bailoa. He was just like, and then they just stuck.
He
like
gripped
this.
out, dude.
He's like, dude, I can't move. I was like, what? Well,
Dude, Mike, how did you guys go the same amount of time?
yeah, we both did 5 minutes, and it was
5 minutes is crazy.
Yeah, it was like honestly life changing. I strongly recommend the polar plunge for like. There's some
This
people
was
that
Saturday.
this was on Saturday.
Did you do it today?
No, I'm probably gonna do it once every Saturday because
Okay.
I don't understand. Maybe I know that there are like benefits to recovery and different things like that, and
Let me tell you the benefits. Fire, dude.
so.
Fire, dude. Fire.
But the
Do you
biggest
have
thing
knee
for me,
pain?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be in that bad boy every day.
the biggest thing for me was just like proving to myself that I can do something hard. Because you could hear Kellen at the very beginning, face the dragon. I came back and I was like, guys, I'm not sure if you've heard of Jordan Peterson's series. I forget what it's called, but he talks Monsters and Dragons, I think is what it's called. Something like that. But he talks about these dragons that you face in life. And this like immediately on Friday when I had like that panic attack, just felt like this dragon in my life that I was never going to be able to slay.
And you killed that dragon.
So I knew that if I had waited longer, if I had waited a week, even a few days,
bigger.
it gets bigger, right? And so I just told him, like, I have to get back in that tub and die in the tub or make it 5 minutes.
You made it.
And I made it 5 minutes.
You're here.
And it was like seriously the most like what, Quinn?
I'm sorry. It's nothing.
Oh.
My fault.
Dragon.
Shit, it was not.
Man.
It's making me laugh.
This is what you call Gen Z, everybody.
So I had the same pain on Friday, but I looked up like breathing techniques and I found one called box breathing.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like you imagine a box
U7.
and you inhale on the left side, hold on the top, exhale on the right side, hold on the bottom. And so I was just trying so hard to not think about anything but breathing. But the same thoughts were like, you got to get out of the water, get out of the water. And so I felt like my body, my brain fighting my soul because my soul was like, if I get out again, I'm just going to be a loser. Had a really hard time with that. So Saturday after doing this, I was like, I felt so freaking incredible.
Good job, man.
Thanks, guys. So it just made me start thinking about what are like the biggest. This really felt like the most challenging thing I've ever done in my life. Obviously, recency bias. I can't think that too far back about other hard things that I've done and how it feels compared to this recent moment in my life. But it made me have this sense of, regardless of how challenging something might be and the limitations that I put on myself, I can now have this baseline or this experience where I say, at least it's not as hard as that ice tub, the plunge. At least it's not as hard as the plunge. And I can kind of like break down my limitations and my barriers and do hard things. So thinking about that, we all grew up in the same home. Obviously, we've spent maybe a decade starting to fly the coop, leave the home. But can you guys think of situations that were like just very challenging, either for us collectively or you individually?
I think collectively missions is a given. I think mentally, physically, emotionally. I know we all have stories about it, but I think that's pretty
Mission in
challenging.
general.
Did you have something in mind?
Do you have something?
Yeah, just because I've been thinking hard about the challenges that I faced in my life. But I feel like the scariest thing I had, the dragon that I had growing up, was disappointing dad. In sports, in school, in...
I wouldn't say dad, just our parents in general.
I really didn't care about disappointing mom.
Really, I'm the opposite.
Really?
I thought the worst that would come from dad was a beating. But the disappointment that I got from mom sometimes was the thing that like kept me like that, and I didn't want her to go talk to any of my teachers at school.
That was another thing that's different from you guys between us. Dad obviously didn't discipline us or physically discipline us as much as you guys. So that's where that kicks in, because the disappointment came from both sides just in like full effect, because they're like, yeah, we know you should know better. Why aren't you doing this?
They would say that?
Chase you also got disciplined. You and Micah got disciplined the most out of, because I could avoid it because I could see when something was being done that was gonna get us beat. Yeah, I'd be like, I'm gonna go to my room now, and I would just remove myself from the situation.
I think as far as disappointing mom or dad, it was contingent on the circumstance. There were a lot of times, like when it came to school or my knowledge of the gospel, like what I did in Young Men's, that I thought would disappoint mom a little more sometimes. And then, like you said, just when it came to sports, or like choosing friends, that's where I kind of thought I might disappoint dad more. Especially with sports. I've never shared it before. You're hearing it here first, but the time where I thought that like dad was gonna lose all hope in me was so weird. But when I got invited to play for that Cannibals team in London, I kind of thought that I was just being thrown on the team because dad was one of the coaches, and mom was going to. And so it was like up to me to prove myself at that tournament. Anyways, I felt like the whole time I was playing, the whole time I was there, like dad was just staring me down the entire time I was playing. And it was kind of just like something like I needed to prove myself in that moment, and not let him down and not disappoint him. And that was one of the most challenging things I think I experienced in high school, was going on that trip. I don't think it seemed like it to anyone else, but that was like super, super difficult for me.
Did you slay the dragon?
No, I sucked at the tournament.
Really?
Yeah, it was a disappointment. It
was
bad.
I don't think necessarily slaying the dragon would be doing good at the tournament.
Yeah,
I mean, the dragon. I feel like the dragon's still lingering because you feel like you failed at the tournament.
Yeah.
So you felt that pressure still from dad. And I will say, dad's aura as a coach,
scary.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah,
I don't even know if it's like intimidating. Because
do we have the same dad?
But I'll tell you what, it never made me work harder. Like when dad came up to coach United, because even my 9th and 10th and like the JV year at United, I didn't have dad as my coach. But then varsity, something about it. Dad was always at the forwards, but I was over at the backs. But I felt like he was watching me, and I think it was because after practice, I had a lot of time with just me and dad after practice, because that was like when I was playing. I was kind of the only one, and he would say, "Okay, like what went well, what went wrong, what are you doing wrong still?" And I don't know. So I think I just felt so much pressure, even though I know dad did not mean that intentionally, but it made me work hard. So
that's an interesting perspective. Because I don't know. I just feel like sports-wise, I never had pressure from dad. I never felt it.
I didn't.
I had pressure from like family. Like
he never coached you though, right?
He did, 9th and 10th grade.
I didn't really have pressure from that either, as I already said. But
like football.
But like for the opposite of Kenyon, he took us to Vegas one time. I played for Cannibals. It was like the last Cannibals Vegas trip, and I was like 16. I don't even know, but I sat on the sideline the entire time, and dad was coaching, and I was like, okay, probably got to a whole like 4 games, probably got like 2 minutes of playing, and there are 7 games, but I was like, I mean, I don't know if I also felt the same as Kenyon. Like, am I really just on this team because dad's coaching? And he did humble me and said, yeah, when we did the tryouts, I didn't put you on my list. You weren't chosen by me. So I don't know. It's very different. I didn't feel that pressure because he didn't really coach me, but
yeah, and I think going back to my story, it just reminded me going like the biggest part of that story going to London, our first game, I was starting, don't know why. It was a scrum, it was sevens. The scrum half took it out on the weak side. We were playing just some ghetto team from London, and I missed a tackle. He went and scored a try, and that was within maybe a minute of the game. And I just remember looking over at Dad, and he like just looked so disappointed. He didn't even look at me. I was like, this is gonna be a rough trip. And so that's kind of like, but there was so much building up to that because I was privileged enough, and it was a privilege, Dad, to have him as a coach for so long because it taught me a lot.
For the football boys out there, if you want to train your mental to make every single tackle, go and miss a tackle in rugby.
Go play fullback in rugby.
Yeah. So I feel like,
and the rest of your team can't tackle.
I feel like it's easy to hide in football almost. Obviously, you if you're getting torched and missing tackles, you get easily identifiable. But in rugby, if you miss that tackle, oh my gosh.
Everything.
There's so much weight on you.
Almost every interaction, ball carrier, or tackler in rugby is in open enough field that you can see when someone.
Yeah. I want to go back, Quinn. You said something that I thought was interesting. You're talking about how you felt pressure from mom and dad a lot, right? You said something along those lines?
Yeah. Well,
you said disappointment.
Yeah, disappointment.
Yeah, we started from the disappointment conversation. Do you feel like you were unfairly judged?
No.
Not judged, but pressured?
No, I feel like mostly I put it on myself, but I feel like in my head, it just made it worse because you guys had already been through all those stages. Having 4 brothers in front of you that have already done everything that you've done. And so your parents, or I felt like our parents were just expecting me to be able to do those same things or be able to overcome those things that you guys have been through. And so when I got to those things and I couldn't, it just felt like that disappointment was just, it was there.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, is if you felt like an even more, a greater amount of pressure because you had 4 brothers older than you that had done X, Y, and Z. And so you kind of were like, did you ever feel like, dang, now I have to do X, Y, and Z. I have to play rugby. I have to do this. I have to.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So I only had 1 above me. But I feel like Kingston and I, since I can remember, nearly did everything together. Like we were on the same football team growing up, same rugby teams, played at BYU together. And so I feel like oftentimes I do, like, talking about like the challenges that we face and the hardest challenges, a lot of that was pressure. Like I didn't want to disappoint Dad. That was like one of the biggest challenges I faced growing up. I feel like maybe I felt validation from Mom already, and so I didn't feel like I could ever disappoint her. But then another layer to that was one of the challenges that we face as brothers is literally being brothers with each other. And there's a lot of benefits that come from it. But just like me watching Kingston do everything, have the long hair, dude, I don't think I've ever talked to you about this, but I've always, it will blow my mind that Mom and Dad grew your hair out long and freaking buzzed my hair.
Dude, I was just gonna say
every time.
The contrast between the two. I don't know what
and maybe they were trying to mold some situation where they didn't want us to be compared, and so they.
Oh yeah, maybe.
But I feel like that drove it even more. The comparison of.
No, that was the reason he looked like
said
Buddha.
That Mom told her that it's because I looked like Buddha. Yeah, we didn't know my hair was curly until after we got married. But like those situations, I felt, just to reiterate what Quinn was saying, I do feel like there were times where I felt a challenge ahead of me to be good at sports because Kingston was good at sports, or be good at school because Kingston was good at school. Like those things. And maybe it was a bigger dragon than I thought, or maybe it's not a dragon at all, because now if you look at our individual lives, I feel like we're living pretty different lives. Maybe we grew up similarly, but now we are in our own lanes doing our own things, and I think that's a big blessing.
I think it's interesting because me and Quinn are just on opposite. So Quinn's mental was, I have 4 brothers who have done this. I have to do it too. My mental was, I have to do this and do it right, because if I don't, then I have 4 dudes after me that have an excuse of why they can't do it now.
Yeah.
That was like the main. There were so many times on my mission where I'm like, I don't belong here. I don't deserve to be here. I shouldn't be here. I should go home. But like the thing that made me reset and keep going is because I'm like, well, if I do it and one of my brothers goes home and then says Kingston was the reason, well, King didn't stay out, then I'm like, okay, that's on me then. So that was, and everything I've ever done, even like BYU, dude, I can't tell you how much I did not want. One of the hardest things for me was signing up for another semester of school. Semester after semester, I'm just like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't want to be here. This is costing me money.
Especially not to speak
Why
for
am I
you,
here?
but another layer to that challenge for me was I'm not doing good. I'm not doing good in school. So
Well,
why am I still here? Why?
Dude, when they told me I was too dumb to be a teacher in high school, I was like, wow, dude, I don't know why I'm here anymore. So it's just like the hardest thing for me was like, should I just quit this and go work at Home Depot? Like,
That's true.
That's what BYU made me feel like. BYU made me feel like you're no better than someone flipping burgers at McDonald's because your GPA is a 2.8 and you are no better.
BYU was a tough.
So it's like,
that's a challenge.
But it was this crazy thing because you go to.
Sorry, it's the Lord's school, so
it's the Lord's
the
University. Sacred funds.
College period.
But because the contrast of going to my classes and sitting with some of those kids in class and being like, bro, this kid just memorized the whole textbook and it's day 3 of the class. Like, who is this kid? And then going to rugby practice and half the dudes I was playing with didn't speak English. So I was like, well, if they're doing it, I can do it. And little did I know they weren't doing it any better than I was doing it. So it's just like, and that's why I think, like, to round it off, all the struggles, it's a huge part of its perspective. Because we had completely different struggles, but our perspective was almost exactly the same, me and Quinn. It had to do with either not measuring up or setting the standard or not measuring up to the standard for your brothers.
Yeah.
And up and down the chain, which is one reason I envy Mica, because Mica seems to have been the only one out of all of us to... And maybe it's not. Maybe he's getting it the worst because he's the middle child. But he makes it seem like I'm not doing what any guy's doing. Like, I don't care. Like, what you do doesn't affect the way I'm living my life.
He just does what he does.
He just does what he does. And that's one thing, speaking of jealousy, that's one thing I've been jealous of Mica because Mica is 100% okay just being Mica all the time. So, and he doesn't care. He acts like he doesn't care.
Yeah,
I don't want to speak for him and say he doesn't care, but he acts like he could care less.
I'd like to think that he actually does really care.
But just for the record, when we did the ice bath, all of us together, we weren't all in it, but separately. Everyone did 2 minutes except for Mica.
Really?
Mica quit after 1 minute, and he goes, "Oh, I think my bath was colder than everyone else." I'm like, "It's the same bath."
I really think in this plunge that we did, I wouldn't have gone 5 minutes
if it wasn't for Mica,
and he wouldn't have gone 5 minutes.
Competition's crazy because I think Mica did come back and do it later and did 2 minutes because we told him Jackson Abarca had done 2 minutes.
Competition killed the cat.
I forgot I gotta come in.
Okay, to finish off, I want to still stay in that vein of vulnerability because you mentioned something about the contrast between you and Quinn. Quinn was like, 4 brothers have done it, now I have to do it, and I'm the first one to do it. I have to set the precedent and do well, right? This might be a tough question. We all had the opportunity to serve a mission, and it was hard. I think that was really hard. And 1, 2, 3, 4 ducks in a row, boom, missions. I think Quinn had the hardest challenge of us all. There's no, I'll be clear, serve a mission, don't serve a mission. Serve a mission for 2 years, serve a mission for 18 months, serve a mission for 5 months, serve a mission for 3 weeks. It's all the same amount of hard, especially when challenges are like subjective, right? And so I just wanted to like say to Quinn, I admire you. I think some of the things you're facing now, after we've all faced some of the things you face, and you're wading new waters and can be an example for Kingston, myself, Mica, and Kenyon in navigating that situation. And so I applaud you. I think it's really cool that you're...
Well, I will tell you one thing. I do view you as you are braver than me because you had the courage to come home. I will tell you there were probably quite a few times on my mission I should just say, you know what, let's wrap it up. I need to not be here anymore, and I need to go home. But I was afraid of coming home and dealing with everything I come home. So I stayed out there. I stayed out there when I probably shouldn't have. And I guarantee you most people that probably served with me would say, yeah, you probably shouldn't have stayed out there. But I did. And so, I would argue that, how long were you out there?
Around 8 months.
8 months? Oh, dang, that's longer than I actually thought. Because I was going to say, the amount of time you had out there was probably about the same as the amount of time of valuable months that I actually had on my mission, where I wasn't wasting time, where I wasn't just sinking to whatever level because I was big on my mission. I played the game at the level of my companion. So if my companion was wanting to go all out, do it all, let's go. We're doing it all out, do it all. But if my companion was, I don't want to do anything, I'm like, all right, guess we're not doing anything today. So those were the times of my mission where I was like, dude, I really should just go home. I'm benefiting no one. I'm benefiting not myself. But then I thought, like, well, I can't go home. I'm afraid to go home. Like, I don't want that over my head. So.
Do you feel like that was probably one of the biggest dragons in your life up to this point?
Yeah, for sure.
Do you
fighting all types of dragons, but yeah, that was a big one.
Do you feel like that dragon is still hanging around?
Oh, for sure. I went to one of my best buddies, and I went into the MTC with him. I went to his homecoming on Sunday. Oh, that was rough. Just because, so we all know I got called to Hong Kong, reassigned to Washington with him. So, like, we were still super tight. And then when I was supposed to leave that Thursday to Hong Kong, but I came home the Tuesday before it.
And I remember this elder was really bummed about that.
Oh, yeah.
What was his name again?
Elder Schwartz.
Schwartz.
Yeah. But going to that homecoming and just all of his companions and stuff are there, and they're all speaking Cantonese, and I'm just sitting there like, oh yeah, that could be me, but it's not. And it was rough, but I mean, I needed to be home when I did. So.
Yeah. And like I said, you're an example to me. I don't want to speak for you.
Me too.
But I feel watching you after making the decision to come home all the way up to this point, I feel like you slayed that dragon. And like you just said, you're still fighting that dragon. But I feel very like inspired that you made the decision, you're home, you're finding yourself, and you're just moving on with your life, and you're not letting it just sit and linger. Obviously, you're going to be put in situations where you're reminded about it, and the dragon comes flying in. But I think it's awesome to watch you and also my other brothers that face their challenges fight those dragons and move on. Yeah, I think that was a good one.
That's why I didn't answer the last question, because you guys made me cry. No.
Hey, the last time.
Well, I feel like just to wrap it up, I had a phenomenal experience in the plunge, and it made me think about the challenges in my life, the challenges that the people that I love are facing, and I truly believe that we have more power than we think, and we also are doing way better than we think. And so if you're sitting at home pitying yourself, I know life is hard. We all have challenges. I'm not in your situation. You're not in mine. But you're doing better than you think.
Go take a cold shower.
Go hop in the ice. Peace.
Subscribe, follow, share.
Subscribe. Respect.
As Chase would say, love you guys.